Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are immersing ourselves in the world of Pharma 4.0.
Hmm.
We're talking about that huge digital transformation happening in pharmaceutical manufacturing. So think AI, automation, real-time data,
Mm.
all applied to this incredibly regulated world of drug production. But, and this is the key, we aren't here for the glossy pitch.
Exactly. We're looking at the critical and, frankly, the hardest part of any major business shift, which is sustainability.
Right.
It's notoriously easy to launch these things with a ton of excitement, but it's incredibly difficult to sustain them and, well, turn them into a measurable competitive advantage 5 years down the line.
And the sources we're looking at today, they focus entirely on longevity. Our mission really is to uncover the framework you need. How do you define, track, and, well, enhance the performance of these huge digital investments?
So the benefits don't just, vanish.
Exactly. The moment the implementation team packs up and leaves. We want to know how you bake agility and accountability right into the operational DNA.
And this is so crucial for you, the listener, because we're not just talking about coding or software here. This deep dive is about governance, it's about strategic foresight, and it's about culture.
Yeah.
We're learning how organizations in what is probably the most regulated industry on earth can quantify performance that, used to be handled with manual reports and paper trails.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We should start with the absolute foundation, right? Measurement.
Always.
If you can't manage it, you can't improve it. So the first step has to be defining success with key performance indicators or KPIs that are strictly smart.
That is the strategic starting point. They have to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. You have to move away from these vague corporate goals.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. So instead of a goal like we need to improve manufacturing speed, a proper Pharma 4.0 KPI would be reduce average batch release cycle time by 40 hours
Okay, very specific.
within 12 months of go live.
Right.
It's concrete. Everyone knows what the target is.
That shift in language alone must drive a huge difference in accountability. But once you have those granular KPIs, you need a structure, right? To make sure you aren't optimizing one area at the expense of another.
Yes.
And this is where the Balanced Scorecard, the BSC, becomes so essential for Pharma 4.0.
The BSC is just brilliant because it forces that holistic view. If you
Yeah.
only look at cost savings, you might, cut corners on quality.
Which you absolutely cannot do in pharma.
You can't. So the BSC prevents that by aligning everything across four critical perspectives.
Okay, so the first one is the predictable one, financial. You're tracking ROI, hard cost savings, maybe from, say, predictive maintenance systems that stop big repairs before they happen.
Right, but then it gets much more specific to pharma. You move to internal processes. This is where you measure the efficiency gains that really drive value.
So things like improvements in overall equipment effectiveness, OEE, and those batch release cycle time reductions we just mentioned.
Exactly. And because we're talking about medicine, the third perspective is, well, it's mandatory. Quality and compliance.
This has to be huge.
It is. Your digital systems have to prove they are reducing risk. So you track metrics like deviation rates, CPA trend rates.
And KPA is corrective and preventive action.
That's the one. You also track the severity or, the frequency of audit findings.
Okay. And the fourth one?
Finally, the indicator for true future-proofing, learning and growth. This one is all about organizational readiness.
Are your people actually keeping up?
That's the question. You assess things like digital skills certification rates, where you look at what your change readiness surveys are really telling you.
Yeah.
If the workforce hasn't learned the new digital language, the investment is basically dead on arrival.
It sounds like managing this transformation requires two different kinds of radar. You have to distinguish between measures of, say, adoption momentum and then measures of actual value.
That's a great way to put it.
That's the difference between leading and lagging indicators, right?
Absolutely. Your leading indicators are your momentum measures. Training completion rates, system adoption, readiness scores. They tell you if the ship is pointing in the right direction.
So you can course correct early.
Exactly. The lagging indicators measure the realized benefits, the financial returns, the actual reductions in quality events, the OEE gains. You need those leading indicators to intervene and adjust behavior before the lagging indicators deliver bad news.
Let's zoom in on the shop floor for a second. What are the most critical metrics that would signal a successful Pharma 4.0 shift, especially for operational excellence?
Well, operational excellence really hinges on three crucial interconnected measures. The first and most famous one is overall equipment effectiveness, or OEE.
OEE, right.
It's a multiplication of three factors: availability, performance, and quality. It basically tells you how well your asset is running compared to its theoretical maximum.
And our sources mentioned a pretty shocking statistic about OEE in the pharma industry.
They did. Typical pharma manufacturing OEE can sit at around 37%.
37, that feels incredibly low.
It is. World-class manufacturing is closer to 70% or more. The sources really show the digital gap here. OEE is low because availability is lost to unplanned downtime. Performance is lost because processes are running too slowly.
Often because of manual checks and compliance steps.
Exactly. So that 37% figure just shows this massive room for improvement that Pharma 4.0 is designed to close.
A huge challenge. Okay, what else is critical besides just maximizing asset time?
First pass yield, or FPY. This is simple. It's the percentage of products that pass all quality checks the very first time with no rework or rejection.
A clear signal of process consistency.
The clearest. It drastically reduces waste. And of course, relentlessly tracking unplanned downtime. If you can predict and prevent a shutdown, you're saving millions and ensuring product availability.
Now, there was a key change management insight in our sources here. Measuring these things in a back office somewhere is, well, it's useless.
Completely. You have to bring the data to the people who can actually act on it.
And that's the cultural shift.
It is. The sources all stress using real-time, easily digestible dashboards. Put them on shop floor screens, on mobile apps, even on augmented reality headsets. Then, the behavior change gets reinforced when leaders use those metrics to celebrate wins, even small ones, in daily team huddles.
That closes the loop. Data, behavior, and recognition.
It's the only way it sticks.
Okay, that covers defining and tracking success. So here's the next layer. Once we measure what's broken and what's working, how do we act fast enough to capitalize on that data? It seems we need iterative methodologies.
Right, we're moving from a passive audit function to an active improvement function. And the core idea here is applying these iterative cycles like Plan-Do Check Act or PDCA.
And using agile frameworks, too.
Yes, leveraging agile frameworks, whether that's a small Scrum team or something bigger like Safe the Scaled Agile Framework for those huge enterprise deployments.
But, you know, speed and agility feel like the arch enemies of pharmaceutical regulation. How do you balance that need for rapid deployment with mandatory validation?
That is the strategic challenge. You have to align your agile development sprints with mandatory validation gates. So instead of a waterfall process where development is completely separate from quality sign-off,
You integrate them.
you integrate quality assurance into every single short development sprint. And the technology here really helps, particularly with things like digital twins and continuous process verification, or CPV.
Okay, let's look at those two. CPV, that's focused on real-time assurance, right?
Correct. Continuous process verification is essentially real-time monitoring of your critical quality attributes using sensors and automation. So if a process starts drifting outside of its established parameters, the system can trigger automated alerts or even adjustments.
So you're assuring quality constantly with data, not just waiting for end-of-batch testing.
Exactly. It's proactive instead of reactive.
But the digital twin technology, that seems genuinely revolutionary in a regulated industry. Tell us why.
Because it completely de-risks change.
Yeah.
A digital twin is a sophisticated virtual model of a process or a piece of equipment or even an entire plant. In pharma, you can use these twins to simulate change scenarios, test software upgrades, model new process flows, all of it without touching the live, validated operational environment.
That's a massive competitive edge. You don't have to shut down production for weeks just to test a theory.
Precisely. You run your experiments virtually, you learn the outcomes, and only when that digital twin proves the change is safe, compliant, and efficient, then you integrate those learnings into your updated standard operating procedures.
That kind of rapid, risk-free iteration is just impossible in a traditional setting.
Impossible.
And this whole continuous cycle must rely heavily on getting insights from the frontline workers, the people interacting with the system every day. We need structured feedback loops.
Absolutely. I mean, it means implementing digital suggestion platforms, doing frequent pulse surveys, and this is crucial, making sure those improvement ideas are prioritized transparently.
By what, review board?
Yes, usually a cross-functional review board.
Yeah.
If ideas just disappear into a black hole, that entire improvement cycle just breaks down.
And we can't talk about digital longevity without talking about obsolescence. Systems get old, they lose vendor support, they become security risks.
That's the technology refresh strategy. You have to have a proactive plan. You conduct inventory and lifecycle assessments to identify systems that are nearing end of support.
And I'm guessing you use the digital twins here too.
You do. You pilot test major system upgrades or migrations virtually first. It minimizes validation time and compliance risk before you ever roll them out into the live manufacturing environment.
Moving beyond hardware, the management of knowledge seems just as important as managing the equipment.
It is. And knowledge management, it goes far deeper than a simple post-project review. It means conducting structured after-action reviews right after key milestones, codifying those best practices directly into your SOPs and training, and using advanced analytics to find recurring patterns and deviations or issues.
So you're proactively patching the knowledge gap, not just the technical one?
That's the goal.
Okay, let's talk about the long game now. Sustaining this transformation requires continuous foresight, cultural embedding. How do companies future-proof Pharma 4.0 against the inevitable technological or regulatory disruptions?
They engage in what's called horizon scanning. And this is a very structured foresight method. It requires a disciplined approach.
So it's not just like browsing academic papers.
No, not at all. You have to define specific scanning domains like the emergence of AI in drug discovery or maybe next-gen biomanufacturing techniques, and then you systematically track patents, policy reports, and expert interviews around the globe.
So you're trying to anticipate what the competition or the regulators will do next instead of just reacting.
Exactly. It prevents you from being blindsided. But to absorb those future shifts, the organization itself has to evolve, and that's where this 4x4 organizational capabilities framework comes in. Digital maturity demands continuous evolution across 4 major domains.
Okay, lay out those 4 domains for us.
First is strategy having a clear digital vision that's tied to business value. Second, technology building a robust, scalable architecture and data management skills.
Makes sense.
Third is organization designing agile structures and cross-functional governance to break down those silos. And fourth is leadership, cultivating specific competencies in change management and digital innovation, especially among senior executives.
You know, we're seeing a major theme emerging in all industries, but it feels particularly sharp in pharma, and that's sustainability by design. This isn't just a corporate social responsibility thing anymore, is it? It's becoming integral to long-term viability.
It's rapidly becoming a core requirement, not a nice to have. It means integrating environmental and social considerations into every single digital effort.
So you're selecting energy-efficient cloud services, looking for green by design process controls.
Yes, and critically, you're leveraging those digital twins to optimize resource consumption and minimize waste through the entire product lifecycle.
So the same digital twin that helps you avoid compliance risks also helps you reduce your carbon footprint and water usage. You're aligning KPIs with sustainability goals.
It's a dual benefit. I mean, efficiency usually means less waste and less energy usage. It's the ultimate example of doing well by doing good.
And finally, we come back to the bedrock culture. You can have the best technology roadmap in the world, but if the culture resists data-driven decision-making, the whole thing will absolutely stall.
A robust digital culture has to start at the top. It means integrating digital literacy and data-driven behaviors directly into leadership performance metrics.
Wow.
You also have to lower the barrier to experimentation, run things like hackathons, structured innovation sprints, and maybe most importantly, you have to actively recognize and, yes, financially reward the digital champions.
The people on the ground making it happen.
The people who are modeling those new behaviors and mentoring their peers on the shop floor.
And that kind of culture ensures that future-proofing isn't a one-time project, but a continuous cycle.
It has to be. It requires a living, breathing, rolling 3 to 5 year roadmap. And that roadmap should be deliberately segmented into phases like foundation, scale, and optimization.
With constant recalibration.
Constant portfolio governance and continuous horizon scanning have to be embedded into the annual planning cycle to make sure the strategy is always being adjusted based on evolving regulatory, tech, and market shifts.
This has been a deeply insightful look at longevity in Pharma 4.0. We've seen that true success really hinges not on, just installing the software, but on highly specific measurable metrics like OEE and FPY, and coupling those with iterative, compliant methodologies like Agile and CPV, all of it reinforced by robust governance like the Balanced Scorecard and proactive horizon scanning.
I think the core takeaway for you is this. Transforming digital aspiration into lasting, measurable action is all about making sure performance measurement isn't some stressful occasional audit. It has to be a continuous, culturally embedded accountability cycle that drives adaptability at every single level, from the C-suite right down to the frontline technician.
And that leaves us with a provocative thought for you to consider. The systems we've discussed, Digital twins, real-time metrics, they require an unprecedented level of internal transparency to drive improvement. We know leading companies publish annual internal innovation pipeline reports to maintain that stakeholder visibility and drive experimentation.
Right.
So, considering the highly secretive and competitive nature of drug discovery, how do those companies successfully balance that necessary internal transparency for growth with the proprietary need for absolute secrecy around future drug pipelines and manufacturing breakthroughs? That tension is where the real competitive battleground lies.